Hey guys, today I'm going to explain the economy of the Warhammer universe in a way that even an orc can understand. This is a new series called Warhammer 101 that tries to explain to newcomers some facts of the Warhammer 40k universe that, till this day, even older fans don't know. In this episode, you will learn where the Imperial Tithe, the common currency, and a function in the economy, how the bureaucracy work, the specific world type, what are the road traders, and lastly, how the economy works in other Xenos of the universe. If you enjoy this episode, please like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. Now let's start with the thing that everyone is familiar with, and that is taxes. So what is the Imperial Tithe? The Imperial Tithe is basically the taxes of the real world. Every planet has to hand over a huge chunk of their output to the Imperium, whether as resources, troops, or other goods, to feed the unending war machine that is the Imperium. The Imperial Tithe is so burdening to the world that it would make real-life tax like a joke. Different worlds pay different resources to the tithe, depending on what they specialize at production. For example, an agri-world ship trillions of tons of corpse starch and nutrient paste. Forge worlds send tanks, las guns, and starship parts. Mining worlds load up bulk freighters with raw minerals and promethium, and hive worlds often tie the manpower. To the people who don't know what the specialized world type means, don't worry, we will get to that later. So who decides how many tithe you should pay? The answer is the Adeptus Administratum, more specifically, the Departamento Exacta in the Adeptus Administratum. They are basically the IRS in the Warhammer universe. Planetary governors send endless reports, census data, and production numbers, and the Administratum crunch the numbers in their continent-sized archives. The Departamentum Unitorum then decides how much of that tithe becomes troops and war material. What if a world can't pay their taxes? Well, it is definitely much worse than not pay your taxes in the real world. First come warnings and increased oversight. Then the tithe takers show up with armed escorts. If it's really bad, the governor might be executed, the planet might get a visit from the Inquisition, or, in the absolute worst cases, exterminatus is declared, the equivalent of your government nuking your house if you forgot to fill in your tax bill. You know, that is perhaps the reason why so many worlds decided to ditch the Imperium and turn to the other Xenos side. Taxes are a scary thing, even in a fictional universe. Now, with the Imperial Tithe explained, let's talk about the common currency of the economy in their function in the society. So what are the common currencies of the Imperium? The big one is the Imperial Throne, the official high-value currency issued by the Adeptus Administratum. Most everyday folk never touch one. These local planetary credits, scrip, ration shits, or straight-up barter. On the fringes, you'll even see teeth from orcs or weird Xenos coins. But inside the Imperium, it's thrones at the top, and whatever gets you through the day at the bottom. To put it simply, the throne is like the US dollar in a dominant position, but also you have other currency that is being used, albeit less commonly used than the US dollar. You may be wondering, what are the products you can buy with the money? Thrones buy the big stuff, starship passage, high-end augmetics, noble titles, or even a governorship if you're feeling fancy. Regular citizens use credits or chids for corpse starch rations, a bunk in a hablock, a new laser gun, or a quick bribe to a bored clerk. Having money is better than not having it, just like in a real world. Underhive gangers and factory serfs great, buy on a few credits or ration chit a month. Basically survival money. Mid-hive workers might see a handful of thrones if they're lucky. Nobles and planetary governors, they're swimming in thrones, trading entire fleets, or buying their way out of trouble. The real flex is how much influence you have, not just the coins in your pocket. If you're upper class, you will have a better life than most, even in this war-torn universe. So how does the currency of Warhammer 40k compare to our real world? Well, fake medieval coins mixed with sci-fi ration cards. There's no single galactic bank. Every planet has its own mint and exchange rates. Hyperinflation is normal on war-torn worlds, and most money is just numbers on a data slate anyway. Unlike our world, currency here is tied directly to survival. Miss a payment and you might literally starve or get drafted. For those who still don't understand, the Warhammer universe is much harsher than our real world. After all, you can't expect to find comfort in a place where war has raged 1,000 years. We can't talk about the economy without talking about the bureaucracy behind it. In the Warhammer universe, the Adeptus Administratum, the IRS we mentioned earlier, is the one who manages the economy here. The absolute titan of paperwork is the Adeptus Administratum, a galaxy-spanning mega-department with billions of scribes, cogitators, and endless subdivisions buried inside continent-sized archive worlds. Everything from tithe records to troop movements goes through them. They're the ones who actually keep the Imperium's economy from collapsing under its own weight. Most of the time, you have to understand that the Adeptus Administratum literally have to manage millions of planets across the galaxy. Their organization is so big, they need 1 billion of officials just to handle all the paperwork of all the planet. With an organization that big, they of course make room for corruption, which is the next part we'll talk about. In the bureaucratic system, low-level scribes take bribes to lose a bad tithe report. Mid-level officials skim resources for their own little empires. An entire department have been known to forge documents just to hit quotas. It's so bad that sometimes the only way to get anything done is a well-placed throne or a favor from friendly inquisitor. Corruption exists, even in a setting 40,000 years later. It's human, I guess. So why do we even put up with all this red tape? Simple. This monstrous bureaucracy is the glue holding the entire economy together. It tracks tides, moves food from agri-worlds to hungry hives, and makes sure forge worlds get the raw materials they need to keep pumping out tanks. Without these guys, the Imperium would grind to a halt in about 5 minutes. They're the unsung heroes, even if they're also the reason a requisition form takes 3 centuries to process. But there are some entities outside the system that are also important to the economy, but enjoy more liberty than the Adeptus Administratum, but we will talk about that later. Remember that I mentioned a specialized world type earlier? We can't understand the economy thoroughly without first understanding what these worlds are. They are basically the specialization of production in our world, except it is galactical scale. Planets in the Imperium only specialize in producing one type of product and nothing else. I can make an entire video about each world, but for now, we will just talk about the basic definition of each world and their position in the Imperium economy. Remember the specialized worlds we talked about earlier? Now, let's get into it. First up, Forge worlds. Imagine an entire planet that's one giant factory run by his cybernetic priests who worship machines. These guys pump out enough Lost guns, Lehman Russ tanks, and void ships to keep the entire Imperium fighting. Mars is the OG, but every Forge world is basically a holy production line for the Emperor. Without these worlds, the Astromilitarum would be throwing sticks instead of bolters. Next, Adri worlds. Picture a whole planet that's just one giant wheat field the size of Europe, except it's all automated and guarded by servitors. These places grow the food that keeps hive cities alive. Miss a shipment and you got a very grumpy, very hungry hive world on your hands. They're the breadbasket of the Imperium, just way more grimdark and covered in Promethean-powered combined harvesters. Then we've got mining worlds. Entire planets turned into giant holes in the ground. They dig up the iron, adamantium, and fuel that everything else is built from. It's dirty, dangerous work. But without these guys, the Forge worlds would have nothing to forge. Think of it as the Imperium's cosmic quarry, just of way more toxic sludge and servitor overseers. Last but definitely not least, penal worlds. These are the Emperor's version of timeout, except the timeout is a death world prison where you mine promethium or fight orcs until your sentence is served. Survive long enough and you might even earn a pardon, or at least a laser gun and a one-way ticket to the front lines. It's the ultimate make yourself useful or else system. Every single one of these world types exists for one reason: to feed the Imperial Tithe. The Imperium doesn't do balanced economies. It does extreme specialization on a planetary scale. I bet you heard the term rogue traders, even if you just got into the Warhammer space. So what are they? Rogue traders are the ultimate space adventurers of the Imperium. wealthy nobles, explorers, or privateers granted a special warrant of trade that basically says, go anywhere, trade with anyone, and keep most of the profit. They fly massive, heavily armed merchant fleets, explore beyond the imperial borders, and operate with way more freedom than any normal citizen. Think Indiana Jones meets Space Pirate, but with official imperial paperwork. So what is required to actually become a rogue trader? Most people inherit the warrant from their family. It's passed down like a super rare family heirloom. A few earn it through heroic deeds for the Imperium. Think saving a sector from Tyranids. Very rarely, an insanely rich noble might buy or be granted one by the High Lords of Terra themselves. But once you have it, you're basically untouchable, as long as you don't piss off the Inquisition too much. The road traders act as the Imperium's unofficial supply line for the weird stuff the regular tithe system can't provide. Exotic Xenos artifacts, rare resources from uncharted worlds, new trade routes, and luxury goods for the nobility. They open up fresh markets, bring back technology and luxuries, and sometimes even claim entire planets for the Emperor. Basically, they're the daring risk-takers who keep the economy from getting too stale and bureaucratic. Without them, the Imperium would be stuck recycling the same old ties forever. These guys are the galaxy's best freelance economists, with guns. While the Imperium rules a huge chunk of the galaxy, it's far from the only player. The biggest Xeno civilizations each have their own wildly different ways of handling resources, trade, and money. We're talking the fungus-brained orcs, the ancient and elegant Eldari, the super-organized Tau Empire, the undying Necrons, and the all-devouring Tyranids. Everyone plays by completely alien rules. Now let's take a brief look at each one of the Xenos economy. For orcs, their currency is literally teeth, which means the bigger and greener you are, the richer you get. Everything is looted, scrapped, or fought for. Pure might makes right, with no banks, just the biggest chopper wins. For Eldari, they're super-refined, craft-world economies based on careful resource sharing, ancient tech, and soulstone bartering. They trade sparingly to keep their dying culture alive. For Tau, there is no personal money at all. Everything is planned and shared for the greater good. A perfectly efficient, state-controlled system where the whole empire works like one big happy machine. As for Necrons, they hoard ancient wealth and materials in their tomb worlds. They don't really trade. They just wake up and reclaim what's theirs. Finally, the Tyranids, they're a swarm that simply consumes every planet they touch. No buying, no selling, just endless eating. What do you expect from a butcher box? Interestingly, some road traders actually sneak trades with a few of these Xenos, very quietly, and usually with a lot of guns pointed at everyone, just in case. If you watch all of that so far, consider subscribing, like, and leave a comment down below. Your support means a lot to me. And if you want more detail on the economy of the Warhammer universe, click the video on the left. It is a podcast type of video for the deep dive of the economy of the Warhammer universe. You can listen while you're driving or before bed. Well, anyway, thank you, and I will see you in next one.
Yo, 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 we just survived the Grimdark economy. Now it's time to hit that button. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe to Imperial Scribe. Subscribe, subscribe, hit that button, don't think twice. We talk ties, thrones, and bureaucracy pain. Forge worlds cranking, agri worlds bringing the grain. Yeah, rogue traders flexing with that warrant of trade. Even showed you how the orcs get paid. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe to Imperial Scribe. Subscribe, subscribe. For more Warhammer 101, you gotta ride. From starving hive worlds to Necron tomb glow, Tau doing it for the greater good flow. Tyranids eating everything in sight, but you'll learn it all with me tonight. Like, comment, ring that bell. The Emperor protects, but you still gotta sub as well. Don't leave me hanging in the warp, my friend. Drop a sub and we'll do this again. Whether you're new or you've been here from the start, you now know how the galaxy falls apart. The kind of meek, Xenos Tithe, and more. Imperial Scribe always brings the lore. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe to Imperial Scribe. Subscribe, subscribe, Imperial Scribe, Imperial Scribe. Subscribe, subscribe, Imperial Scribe. That's right. The Emperor protects your subscription. See you in the next one. Peace.